Have you ever felt that fiery rush of anger take control? A split second of fury, and suddenly everything's out of your hands. What if I told you that anger doesn't make you strong? It makes you vulnerable, and the real power comes from how you choose to respond, not react. Anger is a battle, and if you're not careful, it can destroy relationships, careers, and self-respect. You've probably faced moments where your temper led you down a path of regret. But here's the truth, you're not alone. Every man has been there. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we can't control what happens to us, but we can always control how we respond. The real question is, will you let anger control you, or will you master it? In this video, you'll learn the exact techniques to master your anger before it masters you. No more outbursts, no more regrets. I'm going to show you 8 powerful strategies that will help you take control of your emotions, become emotionally resilient, and turn frustration into focus. You deserve to be the man who doesn't lose his cool at the drop of a hat. So, stay with me until the end and make that change today. If you're ready to start mastering your anger and embracing real strength, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs it. Let's dive in and reclaim control. Starting now. 1. Close your mouth, save your power. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to win the argument to win the moment. That's not what power looks like. Real power is when a man stands in the fire and keeps his mouth shut. Not because he's weak, but because he's in command. Every man knows this feeling. Your blood's boiling, your chest tightens, someone says the wrong thing, and the words are right there, loaded and ready. One snap, one insult, one jab, and it's out. And once it's out, it's too late. Because angry words don't disappear, they echo. Let's be real. Most men think speaking up during conflict proves strength. But the truth, it proves you're being led by emotion, not strategy. And if you let your mouth fire before your mind checks the wind, you'll shoot your future in the foot. Silence in those hot moments isn't cowardice. It's a discipline. A weapon. A decision to hold the high ground when everything inside you wants to storm the gates. Think of your mouth as a gate to your kingdom. Every time you open it in anger, you let the enemy in. And that enemy isn't always the person you're arguing with. It's the version of yourself that sabotages everything you care about. Your job, your marriage, your kids, your peace of mind. You don't lose those in one blow. You lose them one sentence at a time. Stoics didn't shout. They endured, not in silence that surrendered, but in silence that chose not to stoop. Their stillness wasn't passive. It was strategic restraint. They knew a moment of discipline could save a decade of damage. The most dangerous lie modern men believe is that silence is weakness, that you need to stand your ground in every fight. No. You need to protect your ground. And that means not burning it down when you feel slighted. The guy who can breathe when insulted, pause when provoked, and walk away without a scar on his pride, that's a man who owns himself. The loudest one in the room usually isn't the strongest. He's the one closest to breaking. So what do you do the next time you feel it rising? That familiar heat, that desire to lash out? Stop. Don't respond. Don't even speak. Instead, count to 10 in your head. Breathe. Drop your shoulders. If needed, leave the room. Walk outside. Go up the stairs. Create space between the trigger and your reaction. That gap is where your power lives. And when someone asks why you didn't say anything back, don't defend yourself. Just nod. Let them wonder. Because silence handled right is louder than any comeback. It says, I don't need to react. I choose to rule myself. That's not a weakness. That's emotional control. That's mastery. And in a world addicted to reaction, that kind of stillness is rare. It's dangerous, and it's exactly what keeps your kingdom standing. 2. Train like a soldier for triggers. Anger doesn't just show up. It follows patterns. It hides behind the same faces, the same tones, the same looks that have always set you off. Disrespect, being ignored, feeling falsely accused. These are not random events. They're emotional landmines planted across your daily battlefield. And if you're not mapping them, you're walking blind through enemy territory. Most men wait until they're already triggered before thinking about control. By then, it's too late. You're already reacting, already raising your voice, damaging what matters. You wouldn't enter a boxing ring without training. You wouldn't walk into combat without studying the terrain. So why step into life without preparing for what punches you emotionally? That's where the work begins. Not in the moment of anger, but long before it shows up. Start thinking like a soldier. Precision, preparation, control. A sniper trains for hours so his one shot lands clean. You train your mind the same way. Calm under fire. You need to identify your triggers. 3 to 5 things that consistently spark that fire. Write them down, not in your head, on paper. Then write out how you wish you'd respond. Not the reaction that flares, but the response you respect. That's the blueprint for your emotional discipline. Men who don't train for their triggers are slaves to their past. Childhood wounds, broken trust, ego bruises, they all leak into present reactions. You're not angry because of this moment. You're angry because this moment reminds you of that one. But once you spot the pattern, you get to break it. You stop being a reactor. You become a strategist. The Stoics didn't pretend they had no emotions. They studied them. They knew exactly what could pull them off balance. And they practiced staying steady. That's what most men skip. They try to be tough in the heat of battle instead of training for peace before the fight begins. Real strength is built in the quiet hours, not when the spotlight's on. It's what you rehearse when no one's looking that decides what you do when everyone's watching. And don't confuse emotional training with overthinking. This isn't therapy. It's tactics. You're not digging into feelings for comfort. You're studying them to dominate your reactions. The more precise your understanding of what sets you off, the more control you gain. You don't flinch when you see it coming. You nod, breathe, respond, and move on. Clean, controlled, dangerous. Here's how it starts. Tonight, take 5 minutes. List the top things that make you snap. Then for each one, write a single cold response. Practice saying it out loud, not once, every day for a week. Your mind is a muscle. Repetition builds reflex. And when the trigger comes again, and it will, you'll respond with strength, not shame. You'll see it, feel it, and stay steady. Because you trained for it. Because you didn't walk into life hoping for calm. You built it. That's how you master your anger, before it gets the first shot. 3. Move your body before your mouth. Anger isn't just in your head, it's in your chest, your fists, your breathing. It's physical. It builds like pressure in a tank, and if you don't release it the right way, it explodes the wrong way. Most men try to talk it out when they're angry. Wrong move. That's like pouring gasoline on fire and hoping it cools, because anger is energy, and energy needs movement, not a reaction. Motion. You've probably felt it. Your jaw clenches, your hands tighten, your legs twitch. That's your body telling you it's ready for war. But you're not in a war. You're in a hallway, a kitchen, a car, a meeting. The battlefield isn't physical, it's emotional. Still, the strategy remains the same. Release the pressure before it breaks the machine. Here's the truth. You can't think clearly when you're hot. Your body has hijacked your brain. And if you try to respond from that state, you're not choosing your words, you're just throwing punches without your fists. That's why movement is the first line of defense. Before your mouth opens, your muscles move. Sprint, walk, do push-ups, grip a kettlebell, climb the stairs, get the blood moving away from your rage. Imagine anger like a bomb with a short fuse. Every second you sit still, that fuse burns lower. But every step you take, every push-up you hit is water on that flame. You're disarming it, 1 rep at a time. You're turning fight energy into fuel. You're taking the raw power and rerouting it, not silencing the emotion, but mastering the reaction. Most men bottle it up or blow it up. Neither works. Bottling it turns you cold, distant, resentful. Blowing it up turns you reckless, destructive, and full of regret. But moving your body? That's control. That's awareness. That's what warriors do. Not emotional suppression, strategic redirection. The Stoics trained not just their minds, but their entire systems. They walked, they breathed deeply, they practiced control in motion, not just in thought, because a man who can command his body can command his words. And once the fire burns off through motion, the mind is clean enough to speak with clarity. It doesn't take much. You don't need a full gym session. You just need space, room to move. You feel the rage start rising? Drop down and hit the floor. 10 push-ups. 20. Walk out the door. Do a lap around the block. Run up and down your stairs. Don't say a word. Move instead. When you return, everything will look different. You won't be as sharp, as loud, as fast to blame. You'll feel grounded. You'll think clearly. You'll remember what you were about to say and thank yourself for not saying it. You'll have turned reaction into strength. And that's the kind of discipline that builds not just control, but peace. You didn't ignore the anger. You overpowered it. One breath, one push-up, one decision at a time. 4. Keep a cold phrase ready to say. When you're under fire, you don't reach for a weapon you haven't loaded. You use what's already prepared. The same goes for your words. When tension hits and emotions spike, most men rely on instinct. But instinct, especially when angry, doesn't protect you. It exposes you. It drags you into arguments, escalates the heat, and wrecks your image, your reputation, your control. And all of it could have been avoided with just one well-placed phrase. Think of it like a shield, a sentence you pull out when things get hot. Something short, sharp, cold. A verbal stop sign. It doesn't need to be clever, it needs to be clean. Something like, "Let's talk later when I'm clear." That line right there has saved more relationships than the best comebacks ever have. Because what it says is this: I'm in charge of me. I don't need to fight to prove I'm strong. I protect peace by pausing, not punching. Most men believe they have to win the argument right now. That backing off is a weakness, but it's the opposite. Backing off in the right way, with the right words, shows you're thinking long-term. It says you care about the relationship more than the ego battle. It puts you in control of the outcome, not just the emotion. Picture a firefighter running into a burning building. He doesn't scream at the flames. He studies them, moves strategically. He's trained. That's you, with the right phrase in your mental holster. It keeps you from fueling the fire. It creates breathing room. It slows down the damage. It buys you clarity. And here's where most men go wrong. They wait until the conflict explodes before trying to stay calm. But once adrenaline hits, it's too late to improvise. Your brain is wired for defense, not dialogue. That's why you rehearse your cold phrase ahead of time. You don't just think it, you say it, out loud, in front of a mirror, in the car, wherever. You want it to roll off your tongue automatically when the pressure comes. No hesitation, no emotion, just control. The Stoics understood the value of distance, not physical, but mental distance. A pause between trigger and response. Your cold phrase is that pause. It's not avoidance, it's leadership. You're setting the terms of the conversation. You're refusing to let the other person dictate your energy. You're defending your boundaries with precision, not noise. So tonight, choose your phrase. Keep it under 8 words. Make it solid. Make it yours. Then practice. The next time someone pushes your button, don't explode, don't explain. Just deliver that phrase, let it land, then walk away, not to escape but to protect everything you've built. In a world where everyone talks too much, the man who knows when to speak and when to stop is the one who leads. That's not silence. That's power with a pulse. And you're the one holding the switch. 5. Track the damage, not the justification. You shouted, you slammed the door, you made your point and lost something you didn't mean to lose. But afterward, what's the first thing you ask yourself? Was I right? That question feeds the ego. It protects your pride, it keeps the anger alive. But the question you should be asking is this: what did that cost me? Because being right doesn't fix what's already broken. And when anger wins the moment, it often ruins the outcome. Every man's got a trail behind him. Fights that got too loud, texts that never should have been sent, relationships that cracked under pressure. Yet somehow, we focus more on who started the fire than what got burned. That's backward. Stoic thinking flips it. It shifts your focus from defending your reaction to measuring the damage. Because that's where maturity lives. Not in emotion, but in accountability. Imagine driving a truck blindfolded and crashing through fences, mailboxes, front doors. Then afterward you step out and say, "But I was right to drive." No one cares. You still wrecked the neighborhood. That's what anger does unchecked. It blinds you, then leaves you standing in the wreckage with nothing but your pride, and pride doesn't clean up messes. So here's your move. You don't just think about what went wrong. You write it down. Sit down, pen and paper. List 3 times in your life where your anger cost you something that mattered. A job interview, a partnership, your kids' trust, your wife's respect. Don't soften it. Don't explain it away. Just put the facts on the page, the damage, the cost, the truth. Then leave it somewhere you'll see it. On the wall in your office, in your Notes app. Read it every time you feel that heat rising. Because facts cut through emotion. Reality puts your ego in check. And nothing humbles a man faster than looking at the aftermath of his reactions. This isn't a weakness, it's ownership, it's training. The Stoics believed that self-reflection was the beginning of strength. They didn't waste time defending their behavior, they studied it like a soldier studies his losses. They treated regret not as shame, but as instruction, because the goal isn't perfection, it's precision. It's reducing the fallout. Most men carry their mistakes like dead weight or try to outrun them, but the smart ones use them as fuel. They turn every failure into a warning sign for next time. And every time that trigger creeps back in, they don't just think, I'm angry. They remember the cost of letting that anger drive. So next time you ask, was I right to react like that? Stop. Flip it. Ask instead, what did I lose by reacting like that? That shift in perspective might save you a second mistake. And that second mistake is usually the one that does the most damage. Let your past reactions humble you. Let them shape your future restraint. And most of all, write it down. Because the man who keeps a record of his losses is the man who learns how to stop repeating them. 6. Outsmart your ego with a timer. Anger is fast. It doesn't wait for logic and it doesn't ask permission. It hijacks your mouth before your mind catches up. That's how good men ruin great relationships, sabotage careers, and destroy respect in seconds. But what if I told you that 5 minutes could save you from a lifetime of damage? When emotions spike, the ego screams, react now. But the wiser part of you knows, delay is power. The Stoics didn't beg emotions to leave. They outlasted them. They built space between stimulus and response, and in that space, they regained control. When a drill sergeant snaps at a young recruit, that recruit doesn't yell back. He holds his ground, counts in silence, and lets the moment pass. Why? Because reacting instantly would cost him everything: his standing, his mission, his future. You're not in boot camp, but your life has battles of its own. And most of those battles are lost because men react instead of recalibrating. Here's what works. When anger starts to rise, set a timer for 5 minutes. Sounds simple, but it's not about the time. It's about the discipline. You're giving your rational brain time to catch up. You're telling your ego, you don't run this. That timer becomes your mental shield. And during those 5 minutes, don't replay the offense. Don't plan a comeback. Breathe, walk, count objects in the room. Just hold the line. You're not weak for pausing. You're tactical. A fighter in the ring doesn't throw every punch he feels. He waits, he studies, he strikes when the time is right. The same applies to emotional combat. Most men throw haymakers in the heat of the moment and miss. Worse, they hit the wrong target. A 5-minute delay could be the difference between firing off a toxic message or choosing to stay silent and protect your peace. This isn't about suppression, it's about strategy. Anger is like fire. Left unchecked, it burns your life to the ground. But when managed, it becomes fuel for growth, strength, and presence. That timer isn't a sign of hesitation. It's your weapon against impulsive destruction. It's how you build emotional self-control when the heat is on. Most guys regret what they said in the first minute of rage, not what they said 5 minutes later. That's the pattern. So flip the script. Make 5 minutes your rule. Turn reactivity into reflection. Because in those 5 minutes, you don't just cool down, you level up. You want to master your anger? Start with a countdown. 5 minutes of silence. 5 minutes of strength. 5 minutes that turn boys into men. That's not fluff, that's discipline. And it just might save your job, your relationship, and your self-respect. Start today, set the timer, and shut down the fire before it burns your future. 7. Use their words to build your control. They say something that hits a nerve, a jab, a dig, a tone that drips with disrespect, and in your chests, something flares. Rage, your jaw tightens, your fists clench. But here's the truth. That moment right there, the one where you want to explode, is exactly the moment that determines who owns you. If their words can flip your mood, then they're in control, not you. You've handed over your mental throne for free. Most men think power is about domination, about barking back louder. But power is control, emotional control, especially when triggered. Now here's the shift most men never make. Instead of reacting to their words, use their words. Make them fuel. When someone mocks your efforts or questions your strength, don't defend, don't explain. Let their insult hang in the air like weight on your barbell. Then lift. Channel it into discipline. Use it to forge calm. The Stoics didn't chase reputation. They became immovable. Because they knew that what someone says about you is just noise. Your reaction to it? That's your signal. That's the measure of your mind. Think of it like this. A fighter doesn't lose his cool because the crowd boos. He stays sharp, eyes forward, fists ready. That's what you train for. You train not to be untouched by words, but to remain unshaken by them. When someone's trying to rile you up, they're giving you the perfect gym to build your emotional strength. Each insult, a rep. Each test, a set. And your ego, just another weight to drop. But if you keep giving in, if you keep letting people dictate your emotional weather, you'll never own your mindset. You'll forever be reacting, bouncing between moods like a punching bag, instead of becoming the man who plants his feet and swings only when it counts. Every time you react without thinking, you're giving away ground. You're letting them build their house in your head. Don't let that happen. Instead, train your mind to pause. Breathe. Let the sting sit. Then let it go. Not because you're weak, but because you're building strength where it matters most, inside. So next time someone tries to provoke you, don't rise to it. Rise above it. Let their words hit the wall of your discipline and fall flat. That's power. That's how you win the fight without throwing a punch. And that's how you master your anger before it masters you. 8. Sleep on your fury. Wake up with strategy. Anger feels urgent. It screams, act now. Your heart races, fists clench, and your mouth prepares to say something you'll regret. But if you swing when you're blind with rage, you're not throwing punches, you're throwing away your power. That's the trap. You think reacting fast makes you strong. But real strength? It's restraint. Especially when everything in your body tells you to explode. In combat sports, timing isn't just a skill, it's survival. Swing too early and you leave yourself wide open. The same principle applies to your emotional fights. The most dangerous move isn't the one fueled by fury, it's the one sharpened by patience. Most men don't realize how much damage is done because they act before they understand. One message, one insult, one moment of disrespect, and boom, they fire back. They think they've handled it, but what they've done is traded long-term control for short-term satisfaction. That email you shot off in anger, the voicemail you left at 1 a.m., that meeting where you snapped in front of your team, you didn't win. You lost to your worst self. And tomorrow, you'll wake up with regret instead of clarity. That's why the best fighters, inside the ring or out, learn to wait. They let adrenaline settle. They let the fog clear. They fight smart, not loud. You want to master your anger? Sleep on it. Literally. Delay your response by a night. Don't fire off the text. Don't make the call. Don't storm out or storm in. Let the night do what it's made for. Reset your mind. In the morning, you'll still remember what happened, but now you'll see it with the mind of a strategist, not a wounded soldier. You'll write the message better. You'll say less, but it'll cut deeper. You'll decide if it's even worth a response. That's how kings move. Not with tantrums, but with timing. Even the Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius journaled his anger, didn't broadcast it. He let time sharpen his judgment. He knew, any fool can react, but only the disciplined man can wait. And when you wait, you get to choose your battlefield, not fight on theirs. You're no longer a puppet of rage. You're the one holding the strings. So tonight, when your blood's boiling and your pride's screaming for revenge, do nothing. Not because you're weak, but because you're training your discipline. Let your pillow take the punch. Let your breathing be your battlefield. In the morning, rise like a commander, not a casualty. Because when you delay your reaction, you don't lose the fight, you win the war. In the end, mastering your anger isn't about silencing your emotions, it's about commanding them. It's the daily discipline of choosing strategy over impulse, calm over chaos, and clarity over confusion. You've just explored 8 powerful ways to do that. Not abstract theory, but real, actionable tools built for men who want to lead their lives, not be led by reactions. These aren't one-time fixes. They're daily habits, forged through self-control, emotional strength, and mental clarity. You learned how to pause before responding, how to breathe before speaking, how to turn rage into reason. You learned that emotional control doesn't mean weakness, it means presence. And presence is power. When you delay your reaction, you gain time to respond with purpose. When you observe your anger, you disarm it. And when you wake up after choosing to wait, you see what truly deserves your energy and what doesn't. So here's your challenge. Make these habits a part of your routine. Practice them in moments that matter. When something triggers you, pause. When you feel yourself heating up, step back. When the urge to lash out comes, ask yourself, will this move me forward or hold me back? Discipline starts in small decisions, made quietly when no one is watching. But over time, these moments build you into a man of strength. A man who doesn't chase control because he is control. And when that becomes who you are, you no longer react, you lead. If any of these insights helped you, I invite you to share your story below. What was your breaking point? What helped you turn it into a strength? Your words might be the anchor another man needs. Keep showing up. Keep mastering yourself. That's how real transformation begins.